you know. The tapestry, we all know about the tapestry. There's some photos that beautifully designed, you know. But she shared about the tapestry. That the tapestry is a very interesting thing. When you look at a tapestry, it's so beautiful. It's normally hung on the walls. You know, when you look at them, you marvel at them. But when you turn them around, you find these strings that are hanging, not making any sense. It's only when you turn the tapestry around that you get to see that this is the most beautiful thing. And I feel like most of our stories, they follow that thing of a tapestry. And some of us here could be finding themselves in that place where nothing is making sense. There's no design, you know. You don't know what to do with these strings that are hanging. But it's just a beautiful thing that the grand weaver, when he works with the tapestry, they have that beautiful picture in mind, you know. It's only when you turn the tapestry around that you begin to see that, wow, I didn't know that a beautiful picture was being formed here, you know. And it can be frustrating when you don't know what is happening with your life. There is no design, the colors are not making sense. It's only when the work is done and you turn the tapestry around, you begin to see that, wow, I didn't know that there was so much beauty in my story. There was a time I didn't know what was happening with our lives because we had just gotten married a year into our marriage, and then we wake up this one morning, we go to work, working in Durban. Around 8, I get a call from Nompilo panicking that, hey, please rush back home, you know. Our helper had called her that our son was not responding, so we had to rush back home. And then we had to get to Mediclinic. That's when we realized that our son had passed. You know, he was 6 months. We left him, everything was fine, you know. So obviously that shoved me into depression. I just couldn't handle it. And I talk a lot about that, especially with men, because we don't know how to deal with grief. You know, our background, depending where you come from, you're being encouraged to toughen up and be strong. And I did that so well, but it caught up with me. You know, ended up going through depression. There was a lot of things that were not going well. You know, there were a lot of strings that were hanging, not design in my life, you know. I was questioning God. There were a lot of questions that I couldn't get answers for, you know. But in that thing, the grand weaver, you know, working with this tapestry, you know, he's pulling these strings, you know, he knows the picture that he wants to form, you know. And I was part of that thing, and it was frustrating me because I didn't know what he was doing, you know. There were times I would share a few words that were not pleasant because I was frustrated about the whole thing, you know. And the Green River knew what he was doing, and he was not telling me anything, you know. A lot of people, obviously, they will throw in the towel, some will commit suicide. A whole lot of things happen in that process when the strings are pulled and there's a stretching, you know. Nothing makes sense. You go to some of the greatest thinkers, you think you're going to get answers. You find that they don't have answers because they are not the grand weaver. The grand weaver is the one who knows what he is doing, and he's the only one with a picture in mind. So grappling with the things I was grappling with, that obviously ended up leading me to writing my first book. Pain that I was going through, I didn't know how do we wrestle with grief as men, you know. So I wrote that book, Naba Griffin Hope, because our son's name was Naba. So I wrote that book, Naba Griffin Hope, which ended up launching me into things that I never thought I would be part of, because you know, I finished my matric, I couldn't stand in front of people and talk. And then after writing this book, I started getting invitations now. So people were writing articles on us, radio stations were calling, and all of a sudden I'm finding myself there giving talks, you know. And in so doing, I ended up, you know, realizing that this story was not about me, you know. This story of this tapestry that was so difficult even to narrate. The Grand River had a plan about it, you know. as I started sharing my story, a lot of men started coming out from the caves, started sharing their own stories as well, because they could relate to what I was sharing, you know. So every story, it might not make sense, but every story and everything that you go through, some are going through divorce, you know, some are going through retrenchment, you know, it's just for us to know that the Grand River is at work. And because of that, I found myself contributing into a lot of radio stations, you know. I was just talking to Nompilo not so long ago that I think I've done close to 30 radio stations, different radio stations, sharing our story. As frustrating and painful as the story was, you get to a point when you begin to see that there was so much that God was doing in our lives, yet we couldn't see it, you know. And all of us in this place, I am sure that whatever story that you may be finding yourself right now, there's something that the Great River is busy doing. So that is our story. Right now, our story is being shared in different countries, you know. And you know, to speak on radio and share your story, and then you get phone calls from people who are suicidal, thanking you that after they've listened to your story, they will seek help, you know, especially men, you know. That has been the greatest highlight. As painful as the journey has been, but to know that the Grand River is involved. And I think that process, when the picture is turned from those strings that are hanging, not making any sense, not designed, to a place when you begin to see the bigger picture of what is it that was being woven all along. It is the most beautiful thing. I think the one sentence that I just want to read that really struck me, very basic yet profound. It reads, "The tapestry is not finished until the finishing is finished." The tapestry is not finished until the finishing is finished. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tulani.